What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to the Full 90. Now, in today's video, it is time for the Week 34 Premier League predictions. Now, before we get into that, I want to give a massive shout out to Ryan Stevens, who left his predictions on the Week 33 video, as well as his FA Cup prediction. And I must say, my FA Cup prediction, I came so close to getting it exactly right. I predicted 2-2 full-time between Watford and Wolves, and then Watford to go through on penalties, but it was 2-2 full-time, and Watford went through 3-2 after extra time. So very close. I almost got it, but nevertheless, this is the Premier League Week 34. Let's look back real quick at Premier League Week 32 and some of the predictions I did in that video. I did a few of the extra fixtures as well in that video, so let's have a look back and see how I did. I had a really good week, other than one disappointing call. I went with my heart over my head, and that's what I get. A lot of people say as an Arsenal fan, I should back Arsenal more to win. I went with that for this week, backed Arsenal to win, and they lost away. But anyway, let's have a look and see how I did. Kicking it off, we have Wolves versus Man United. I had a bit of stick in the comments in this one. People saying that I never predict Man United to win, and I predicted that it would be a 1-1 draw between Wolves and Man United, but Wolves actually won 2-1, so not too far off with my prediction there. The next game was Watford versus Fulham. I predicted it would be a 3-1 convincing win to Watford. It was actually a 4-1, even more convincing win to Watford, so again, a decent prediction there. Now, the next game, Chelsea versus Brighton. When I made this prediction, Chelsea were in a little bit of a rough patch, not really doing too well, but they have turned it around, really. They've been playing really well. I predicted a 2-1 win to Chelsea. It was actually a 3-0 win. Obviously, I didn't really take into account, to be honest, the fact that Brighton would play a weakened team to play in the FA Cup semi-final against Man City, but Chelsea did get the win either way. The next game was Tottenham versus Crystal Palace at their new ground. I predicted Tottenham would get a 2-1 win over Palace, and it was actually a 2-0 win. So again, very close, but not quite on the money. Man City coming up against Cardiff. I predicted it would be a 5-0 win against Cardiff. Again, not really thinking that they'd probably play a weakened side just to ensure that the FA Cup semi-final and then eventually the Champions League would go their way. It was a 2-0 win to Man City in the end, 2 first-half goals there. The next game was Southampton versus Liverpool. I predicted it would be a tough game for Liverpool, and it did. It proved to be a tough game for Liverpool, but they would get a 3-1 win in the end, and they did get the 3-1 win in the end. I pretty much nailed the prediction for the Southampton-Liverpool game, and now, as well as Newcastle and Huddersfield, Southampton and Liverpool join my list of the teams that I correctly predicted the scores of both home and away fixtures of the season, because Newcastle and Huddersfield, I predicted that Newcastle would win 2-0 at home and 1-0 away, and I predicted that Liverpool would beat Southampton 3-0 at home and 3-1 away, so very happy with that one there. The next fixture was Leicester versus Huddersfield, and a lot of people predicted that Huddersfield wouldn't score. I said that Huddersfield would score, but that Leicester would win. I did say it would be a 2-1 win to Leicester. It was actually a 4-1 win to Leicester. The next game was Newcastle versus Crystal Palace. I predicted a 1-1 draw between the two teams, and it was actually a 1-0 win to Crystal Palace. Newcastle very poor in front of net. They had the most chances, they had the best chances, but they couldn't get that goal. They couldn't get even the draw. Crystal Palace walking away 1-0 winners after Wilfried Zaha getting the penalty and Milivojevic tucking it away, as he often does. The next game, Bournemouth versus Burnley. I predicted that it would be a 2-2 draw between the two teams, but Bournemouth had a really poor showing. They couldn't seem to get the ball in the back of the net like you'd expect at their home ground, and Burnley walked away 3-1 winners of that game. So one of my not as accurate predictions, really, but my main banker for that game was both teams to score, and of course that happened. Now the next one, Everton against Arsenal. We know how that ended. I went with Arsenal as an away win, and I haven't predicted an Arsenal away win since week 26, when I correctly predicted they beat Huddersfield 2-1. And, you know, since then I haven't really been predicting that Arsenal would win away, and they haven't been. I thought maybe they could do it, but they didn't. They played poorly, actually. I watched the game, and it was really quite a bad performance. Everton fully deserved the win, and they got the 1-0 win in the end. So Arsenal now got it all to do in the Europa League and the race for top 4. And another correct score prediction for the week, Chelsea versus West Ham. I watched this game as well. A bit of magic from Eden Hazard in the first half, and the brace coming in the second half, giving Chelsea the 2-0 win as I predicted. So all in all, not a bad week. Pretty good, I would say average as far as I'm concerned, because I fancy myself as a pretty decent predictor, so I think I do fairly well. But now finally we're going to be doing Premier League Week 34, being able to look back at Week 33 and the results there, so giving us a better indication of form. Obviously I don't have access to the Champions League and Europa League results for the likes of Man City, Liverpool, Tottenham, Man United, Chelsea and Arsenal. I don't have those results, so I don't know how they did in that, but I do have the previous Premier League results. So that is key for the week 34. So coming up, we have, first of all, Leicester versus Newcastle. Now, Newcastle will be very disappointed to have got nothing against Crystal Palace at St James's Park, and they don't tend to travel as well, whereas Leicester, despite leaking a goal against Huddersfield, they do perform very well at home, and they've been performing very well lately, and the Huddersfield goal was a penalty, so you can kind of excuse that. Huddersfield's first penalty of the season, actually. But Leicester, they're doing very, very well under Brendan Rodgers, and they just look like a solid team. They look like they are a team ready to push for 7th, which doesn't sound like a lot, but I think you do get more money the higher you finish up the table, whether that's 8th over 7th, you do get more money for that, and I think Leicester will be pushing for that. And I think at home, Leicester are actually going to get a convincing win over Newcastle, and I'm going to go with a 2-0 win to Leicester. It could be 3-1, could be 3-0 even. Leicester are looking very, very good, very attacking, and it seems since Brendan Rodgers come in, they've sorted out, I don't know how really, but they seem to have sorted out their frailties at the back in terms of conceding early on. They aren't doing it as much, and they just look a better team overall, and they look very, very good going forward. So I'm predicting a 2-0 comfortable win here for Leicester. The next game is Tottenham versus Huddersfield at home. Like I said, I don't know the result of the Champions League leg. I predicted that Man City would just beat Tottenham and both teams would score in that game, but like I said, I don't know how it's going to go. But they're facing Huddersfield, who are down and out. They will be playing for pride. Like, they've got games left to play, so I think it is just obviously them trying to enjoy their time in the Premier League. Now, they don't have the pressure of trying to avoid relegation because it's already come early. So I think they're just going to try and have fun. But Tottenham, on the other hand, they have it all to play for. They're playing for top 4, and I think Tottenham are going to get a convincing win over Huddersfield here. I'm going to go for a 3-0 win to Tottenham. The next game is Brighton versus Bournemouth. Brighton, they do have much better home form than they do away form. Bournemouth, their form overall lately has been pretty terrible, and their away form is, of course, pretty bad. I think they do have a goal in them, but they do have mistakes at the back as well, and I'm fairly certain Begovic has conceded the most. He's made the most errors leading to goals, Asmir Begovic, and he has just been kind of struggling, and I think Brighton are going to get the win in this one here, which would be a crucial 3 points for them. I don't think they're going to get relegated, but they are down there amongst it. Bournemouth only not there due to their flying start this season, so I think Brighton are going to walk away 2-1 winners in this fixture with a deserved win. I think Bournemouth, they're really struggling. They need to sort it out over the summer. Maybe make a few transfers here and there, and just try and perform a bit better, a bit more consistently throughout the next season. The next game, one of the biggest games of the week, believe it or not, is Burnley against Cardiff. Now, Burnley, they are the team just above Cardiff, I believe, and a 3-point, this is a huge 6-pointer basically. 3 points for either team will be absolutely huge, and I think Cardiff need to get something out of this if they're going to stay in the Premier League. I think if Cardiff won this, it's kind of, you don't know who's going to stay up. I still think Cardiff are going to finish 18th, sadly, but I think Burnley are also a stronger team than Cardiff. They're better suited to the Premier League. I love Cardiff. Everyone loves Cardiff. We love an underdog story, but I'm going to go with a Burnley win here. I'm going to go with 3-1 to Burnley. If Cardiff can cause an upset, that would be fine by me. The next game is Fulham versus Everton. Now, this is kind of the stage where both teams don't really have a lot to play for, but if there is a team that does, it's Everton, who are trying to push up the table with the likes of Leicester, West Ham, Everton. They've found some great form lately. They're playing well. They played really well against Arsenal, to be honest. They were the better team. Quite a fortunate goal in the end, but I think overall they did deserve the win. So I'm going to go with an Everton away win here, but I'm going to keep it close. I'm going to go with a 2-1 win to Everton. It could be more, similar to the way I predicted 2-1 away win to Leicester against Huddersfield, and it ended in 4-1. I could see a similar thing happening here. Richarlison always shows up against the lesser teams. Never really scores against the top 6, but against a team like Fulham, I think he will shine. I think he'll be on the score sheet as well. I'm going to go 2-1 to Everton. The next game is Southampton against Wolves. Now, Southampton have been playing very, very well. I won't say they were unlucky in the end to get nothing against Liverpool. I think over the 90 minutes they deserved to lose. But for a vast majority of that game, they looked in it, they looked up for it, and they looked good. I think Shane Long could have easily put the hosts 2-0 up in that game. And they did defend fairly well. I just think a very fast break from Mo Salah, and then, you know, the nail in the coffin from Jordan Henderson when players were tired and play was a lot more open. But when Southampton were compact at the back, you know, they've got big defenders. They've got a big squad, really. I think they performed very, very well, and I think they are going to give Wolves a very good game here. Wolves, on the other hand, they are doing very, very well. They obviously beat Manchester United twice in the last few weeks. They just missed out on an FA Cup final after being 2-0 up against Watford, but that was some magic from Deulofeu to get those goals. You know, he did extremely well there in both of those situations, and the composure of Deeney did see Wolves take an exit from the semi-final of the FA Cup which is annoying. I like Wolves. I love Wolves. And it's a shame that Cavallero didn't get the touchdown and put it in the net, because that would have made my prediction great. I said 2-2 after full time, 3-3 after extra time, and Watford to win on penalties. So that could have been prediction of the season right there. But he got his feet tangled up and he wasn't able to put the ball in the back of the net. But I think Wolves are a great team. They're still likewise fighting for 7th, and Southampton are essentially still fighting to stay in the Premier League and to have a great end to the season to give them an upward slope in form. So I'm going to go with a 1-1 draw here. I think it's going to be tough. I think had Wolves been at Molineux, it might have been a 2-1, 1-0, something like that. But I think Southampton, given that they have been playing better football lately, I think they are going to match Wolves in this one, and I'm going for that 1-1 draw. The next game is Manchester United against West Ham. Now, Man United, it's hard to say. I haven't seen them play Barcelona, but since then they've lost against Wolves. They beat Watford, but they were quite fortuitous in that. They lost to PSG, obviously. Not PSG. They didn't lose to PSG. They slapped PSG. What am I talking about? Who did they lose against? Arsenal. They lost to Arsenal. I promise you I didn't forget that just to then point it out as an Arsenal fan. But they did lose to Arsenal. They lost to Wolves twice. But West Ham, they haven't been looking that great. Like, to be honest, before the first Chelsea goal came from Hazard, West Ham coped fairly well with Chelsea. They had a similar amount of possession, which just shows that Chelsea weren't dominating the ball. But West Ham, despite that extra possession, struggled to get it up top and really make anything work. I think when Pellegrini made the substitute at half-time to take off Hernandez and switch things up with Arnautovic sort of taking a more leading role, I think that worked a lot better for them. And I think he might try that again this time from the beginning. But Man United are owed a win here. They're due one, and I think they need to get one if their hopes of top 4 are going to stay alive. So I'm going to go for a convincing Man United home win here, given that West Ham have dipped a little bit. They tend to play better at home than they are away. And Man United, like I said, they're due a result, especially at Old Trafford. And I'm going to go with a 3-1 win to Manchester United. The next game is Crystal Palace versus Man City. Now, obviously, Man City, this game for them will be in between 2 games against Tottenham. They'll then be playing Tottenham again. They'll be playing Man United. So I think Manchester City will play, obviously, a weakened squad, but not a bad squad, because they essentially have 2 first 11s, Man City, at this point, which they can chop and change between for, I would say, lesser teams like Crystal Palace. Don't get me wrong, Crystal Palace are all right, but Man City's second team should do enough to beat Crystal Palace, and I think it's going to be similar to the 2-0 win against Cardiff, the 2-0 win against Watford, and the 1-0 win against Brighton. I'm going to go for a 2-0 away win for Manchester City. Maybe it'll even be 2-1 because Man City are having issues and injuries at the back, and maybe Crystal Palace can cause an upset to Man City the same way that they did when Crystal Palace beat Man City at the Etihad earlier on in the season. We've got to remember that. So Crystal Palace on a day are capable of getting that result. Are they capable of getting it both legs, doing the league double over Man City? No, I don't think so. I don't think anyone's going to do that. So I'm going to go for a Man City win here. I think they'll do enough to win, but it won't be as convincing as a 7-0 win against Schalke, or a 5-0 win against Burnley in the Cup, or a 9-0 win against Burton in the other Cup. So it's not going to be like that, but a 2-0 win to Man City nonetheless. I think they'll do enough to get the job. Now, the next game, a huge game with implications for top 4 and the title race. Liverpool hosting Chelsea at Anfield, and I think it's going to be a very, very good game. I've actually gone for quite a fairly big winning margin here, actually. This prediction, I don't know. I think I'm going to stick with it. Chelsea did play some good football against West Ham. Eden Hazard is looking good. Loftus-Cheek is looking very, very good. I know a lot of attention is on Hudson-Odoi, and he does run with the ball a lot, but I think given he's all excited, you know, and I think in that West Ham game he did give the ball away a few more times than you'd want, but I think that is just a little bit of inexperience shining through. Loftus-Cheek really looks the full package, and Hudson-Odoi, obviously, even if he's giving away the ball, he's getting into positions in which he is dangerous and he does pose a threat, so I think he's looking very, very good. And Chelsea, really, similar to the way I said Southampton, I said Liverpool beat Southampton 3-1. I think this is at Anfield, so that's more in Liverpool's favour. I'm going for a Liverpool 3-1 win over Chelsea, but similar to the way I said that Southampton could cause Liverpool problems and maybe give them a slip-up, obviously a team like Chelsea are capable of doing the same thing. They're a top 6 team. They have very good players. Hazard is in great form, especially after his performance against West Ham, and they could potentially lead Liverpool to slip up, so that could be a little bit of a shock. But I think at Anfield, with the title, I know it's going to be tough. You know, this is in between Champions Leagues, but it's also in between Europa League matches for Chelsea, who will have less time to rest. I'm going to go with a Liverpool 3-1 win to Liverpool 3-1 win, because Chelsea are going to be putting a lot of effort into the Europa League as well. I think Liverpool will hopefully get a good result against Porto as far as they're concerned in the first leg, so they can really go for this game against Chelsea as well. Now, the final game, Watford against Arsenal. Arsenal travelling away, and after seeing them perform against Everton and seeing the way they performed away from home in the league, the only team in the Premier League not to keep an away clean sheet, I can't say Arsenal are going to win. I can't sit here and think that is what I definitely think is going to happen. Watford are playing some fantastic football, and I don't see I don't see Arsenal beating them. So I'll keep it short. I think it's going to be a 2-2 draw. I think there's going to be end-to-end action. I think Arsenal will finally get to scoring goals. Maybe we'll start Aubameyang this time, or maybe we're saving him for the Europa League. I don't know. But Watford are looking very, very good. They look great in the FA Cup. They've got the final to look forward to as well. They're pushing for 7th in the league as well. So I'm going to go for a 2-2 draw between Watford and Arsenal. So that is going to do it for this video. If you enjoyed it, be sure to leave a like and subscribe today. Hit the bell so you don't miss a single football-related upload, because there are so many coming in the next few days. And leave a comment for what you think is going to happen for this week's results for a chance to be featured in next week's video. So that's going to do it from me. I'll see you in the next video very soon. The camera literally just died, as I said, very soon. So you didn't get my face cam for the little outro.